What do you want to call? What is going on, everybody? Sorry about that. I just had a really big malfunction on my end, so I am so sorry. All right. So, we have a lot to get to today. I'm sorry. I want to go through a lot of things that are happening right now. There's quite a bit going on. The first thing is welcome. If you want to drop your name so I know who this is online. So, I want to go through how to find leads today, but I also want to go through what is going on in my world of real estate. I'm literally talking with the seller right now. He's like, "When do you want to close?" I'm like, "I don't know what this I don't know anything about your property, okay? Like I got to figure out what is going on with your property." So, the first thing I want to talk about is where I'm generating these leads. And then I want to go through a whole scenario of how I run the numbers, how I go through all of it. So maybe it would be about 30 minutes today, 45 minutes. It's kind of just weird talking to myself, to be honest with you, when there's no interaction, but we're going to do it. Here we are. So, the first thing I want to talk about is what I'm doing currently in my business to generate leads, because if you do not have leads, you do not have a business. So we are generating leads, and I want to share my screen with you. So where am I generating leads? So I I was going I have so a lot of you guys know, maybe you guys don't know, I have Airbnbs, and I went to property management. I drove an hour to get this list of leads. And I'm only showing you the names. I'm not showing you the addresses or phone numbers that I got. Oh, look it. That's interesting. Um, some of the names on here I recognize because they're my own property management. So, it's actually kind of funny. So I might reach out to them. But I was going started from the bottom because the bottom is more like institution investors. I mean, I'm sorry, the bottom is more like individuals and not like a huge group. So, I've gotten two people that have messaged me back, and I want to show you guys exactly what I'm saying to these people. So, where can you get a list? First of all, number one, this came off of CoStar. CoStar, you pay $400, $500 a month, and you get a leads that are mainly multifamilies, they're mainly commercial deals, they're bigger deals. So I got this list. I didn't have to pay $400. I got this list because um it actually is a crazy story, to be honest with you. I actually was having a hard time with one of my Airbnbs, and there was constant issues with the plumbing. I built a relationship with the property management, and when I built the relationship with the property management, we are just talking about doing deals, and he's interested in kind of doing more deals so he can purchase his own deals. And so I was like, "Hey, I can get a cold caller. I can get all the pieces in place." He's like, "Cool. I have a whole list of people you can call based off of CoStar." And that's kind of how we ended up here. So I always believe in building relationships. I think that's how I built my entire business, is building relationships. And so because I built that relationship, I didn't necessarily have to pay. Now, I did have to drive an hour to go get this list, but to me, that's worth it, because the next time I'm not going to have to drive an hour, because we figured out how to export the list to a spreadsheet. So this is 0 to 25 units. That's what I'm looking for myself, for buyers, for anybody. That's where I'm at. So I got a call back on this one, but the problem with some of these is, the weird thing is that For some of them, oh, because it's 0 to 25. Because some of them are single family properties that were like, "Hey, it's a single family property. I don't know if that's what you wanna do." So, so this person and then this person just messaged me, and I wanna show you guys what I'm saying to these people, and I text them. I have just been full on texting them. I believe that, um texting them is the best way because if I were to get a phone call from California because I have a California number, I would not answer it because I wouldn't know why somebody from California would be messaging me. So if they are, I usually text them and then I might have my actual cold caller go out and cold call these people after I've texted them once. So you want to scrub the list a couple times. You don't want to just do it once and think that you're done with it. You definitely need follow up because maybe someone's not ready to sell now, but they will in a couple months or they will in a couple years, or you just build a relationship. A lot of these people have a lot of properties and not just one property. So maybe when you build that rapport with them, you go out and um you just keep building the rapport. Interesting story. I probably have lunch with two property management companies every single month. The reason for that is I'm building relationships. Every single time that I can go and making sure it's a mutual benefit for the both of us, I build a relationship with property management. And in return, maybe we can do deals together. Or one property manager, she helps me out a lot in my day to day stuff. She actually helps me with making sure, like, my contractor, if I have an issue with my contractor, if I have an issue with certain things, she helps me with little things that if I get into some type of bind, she kind of helps me with the solutions to the problems. She's good for that. And then the other one is where I got this list from. So building rapport and making sure that you are always building relationships is a huge part of this business. And I will say, guys, I will say that I am actually a really awkward person if you go to any type of networking events, but put me in front of the room, I'm fine. Put me on this, I'm fine. But if I go to a networking event, I will say I am probably the most awkward person that you will ever meet. So, some of us are shy by nature, and that's who I am. I know you're like, Claire, how are you shy? You're on YouTube right now doing a live stream. I am. That's who I am, a shy person. So if you're scared about going to a networking event, I'm right there with you because I am just as scared as anybody else going to a networking event. That's why I always try to bring somebody because they're the talkative person. But if I go to a networking event and start talking to somebody, I'm all in. But it's just like that initial, like, hey, how's it going? Small talk stuff. That's not me. That I'm not it. Okay. So this is the list that I got. I've had a couple people. I did from 3:38 today until the bottom of this, so a little less than 100 today. I got two callbacks, two text messages that that were somewhat interesting to me. So I'm gonna show you one of them. I'm gonna show you exactly the text message. I screenshotted the text message and I took out all of um I took out all of the stuff on it. So let me show you the text message. So this is exactly what I say to them. Nothing, it's gonna blow your mind how not fancy this whole thing is. Okay, so this is my entire screen. Of course, it's not sharing. Okay, hold on. Okay. I'm sorry. So, system preferences. Okay. Sorry guys. I don't know if I can share this because it only for some reason it only shares my current screen. Okay. Well, okay, so I'll just read it to you guys. So this is what I said today. So here's my first. Okay, so I have about 392 people. I have their phone numbers and I have their property address. Um, I'll just read it to you exactly what I said. You guys can take notes if you want to. Hello, and then the name of the owner. So in this case, it was Jamie. Hello, Jamie. My name is Claire, and I'm reaching out about your property located at X. And I will say that I wrote out every single time I wrote the property address because I think it gives it a little bit more of a personal touch to it. So I said, hello, Jamie. My name is Claire, and I'm reaching out about your property located at X. I have a list of interested buyers who are looking for the property who are looking for properties just like yours, or I myself might be interested in it. So right off the bat, I give him like, hey, it might not be me, but it might be me if we can work out a deal, or it might not be me. So I'd love to discuss the details with you further and see if this is something you'd like to pursue. Let me know if you're available to chat. Jamie, I believe, is a he. I'm gonna assume. I feel like it could go either way. This is the exact wording on it. It wasn't like, "Hey, how's it going?" He just cut right to the chase. $690,000, and it's sold. My neighbors just sold for 690, so I have the comp. We we want more updates on ours. So let's break that down for a second because some of that didn't make sense at first. I had to reread that a couple times. 690K and it's sold. What he's talking about, and this is where you really have to understand the language of real estate, right? He's talking about the guy next door to him, his neighbors just sold for 690. He's not saying that his sold. Okay, that's what I thought at first it was, but that's not what it actually was. So and he goes, so I have the comp, meaning that that's what my number is to sell it. And then I kind of had to I took like a good 5 minutes to really figure out what he was trying to say, because sometimes you really have to dissect what the seller is trying to say. And then I said, is that the amount you are looking to sell it for? ? And he said, yes. So that's exactly what I thought it was. He's trying to sell it for 690. Now, when I looked up the property, I didn't realize that it was a single family house, and I don't really want to buy a single family house for 690, which is, to me, right off the bat, it looks like a retail sell to me. So if I were to do this, I would come in as an agent and I would list the property. I wouldn't necessarily go in on this and say, okay, let me buy this at 690. I will say it's right on the water. I was moving there. It's a little big for me though. I can't handle like 3,000 square feet of just myself. That just seems a little crazy. So I'm like, okay, maybe if it's not a deal, maybe I can list it as an agent. And to be honest with you guys, the last thing that I do in these situations is list it as agents. I have to disclose that I am an agent once business is transpiring. But as a real estate investor, if you lead that you're an agent, a lot of people don't want to talk to you. The reason for this is because it's they just think that you're after the commission and that you're only looking to just put their property on the market. So when I get on the phone with him, I will disclose that I am an agent. But this is, if you're an agent out there, this is how you do it. And this is, I learned this very early on because in California, you have to disclose everything, and same with Texas. Most, I'm pretty sure all the states, you have to disclose that you are an agent. So that is for me, that's kind of a downfall of being an agent, is that I have to disclose every single time. So this is what I said this to a seller the other day, actually yesterday. I said, hey, I just want to let you know that I am a real estate agent. However, I will not be acting as a real estate agent in this capacity. I buy properties for myself, or I find buyers who want to buy the property. But if we were to do this deal, a lot of the time I do not take any type of commission. So that is really what I tell them, because I really want to be straightforward with them. If they find out later that I'm an agent, they can come after me. So that's the legal side of it. We got to stay compliant with everything. All right. So that is one message that I got today. The other message that I got back, this guy is funny. So literally say the same thing every single time. For every single property, I said the same thing. This guy's name was Guy. I said, hello, Guy. My name is Claire, and I'm reaching out to you about your property located at an address. I have a list of interested buyers who are looking for your property just like yours, or I myself might be interested in buying it. I'd love to discuss the details with you further and see if this is something you'd like to pursue. Let me know if you're available to chat. I want to get them on the phone. If I can get them on the phone, I know that I can explain it better. I know that I can talk to them better. I know that I can just negotiate better. I love the art of negotiation. That's who I am as a person. That's how I was raised. I believe everything is a negotiation in life. That's just, I don't know. That's just how I am. Guy said, I'll sell it for 1.35 million. And I'm like, okay, if I'm talking about 1.35 million, it has to have a couple doors because I'm pulling from a multifamily. I said, what's the cash flow on it? ? Not really looking up the property prior to me actually doing this. And I was like, wait a second, is this a single family? Sorry, my lead source was pulling multifamily properties. He said, it could be a multifamily. And I'm like, so would it be 2 units if you turned it into a multifamily ? He goes, 3. This guy is funny. Listen to this. $1,500 for the first floor, $3,000 for the second floor, and $3,000 for the second and third. I'm thinking he's thinking bedrooms. So the first bedroom would be $1,500, the second bedroom would be $1,500, and the third bedroom would be $1,500. And then the garage you can make into an apartment for $400. And then I said, is it cash flowing now? He said, no, but it could be. You want it? When do you want to close? I'm like, hold up, buddy. Now, I will say this property is in a really great location. For a single family house, I'm just not interested at 1.35 million. That's just not, to me, that's not something it's not really, unless I can put a tenant in there that will cover the cost, or unless he wants to carry it. And that's one of the things that I want to go through today is you're like, okay, Claire, how are you going to put this together? How are you going to structure it? How are you going to do all the things? So that's what so I pulled this lead list from CoStar, which is a commercial. Sorry, I have a cat. I pulled it from CoStar, which is a commercial real estate investing. I'm literally giving you guys people off of here. However, I have their phone numbers and I have their addresses. This is in Houston, Texas, and it's in a very specific location that I have it in because I have a couple specific buyers that are interested. So But if you guys want to pull a list, there's other companies that you can pull lists from. There's one of them is called RedX that I know a lot of people use. My broker is one of them. My broker uses RedX to pull leads. You don't have to be an agent to pull those type of leads. RedX is pretty like decent. There's batch leads, which if you guys were on my live stream yesterday, which I know you guys were, I'm just kidding. Um, Batch leads is a great source. I can show you guys how to pull a lead from there. I kind of want to go through one scenario first before I do pull a lead, because I want to show you guys kind of what I do if for a lot of people are like, hey, I don't know how to get started because I don't have the money. And that's a huge concern for a lot of people. But for me, I like to do creative financing, and that's where I can get creative with the deals where the money doesn't really stop me from buying stuff. Okay. So you can pull your leads from this. There is something else called RedX. Red. My broker uses them. I haven't. I was going to actually. I had an appointment with them, and then I got into something else, and that's what happened. So if you're a real estate agent, I don't know why you would pull expired listings. The only reason why you would pull expired listings on RedX is because you want the phone numbers of the expired listings. But I will say this price is very deceiving. Okay. So if I go here to sign up and I put all my information in, which I'm not going to put my information in because I just don't trust anybody online anymore. I'm sorry, but you just can't trust nobody up in here. It actually tells you that if you purchase it by the month, it's a $150 setup fee for your first month. It's $200, and then you start doing $60 a month. So there is a setup fee. Now, if you buy more leads, say like you buy 2,500 or 3,000 leads from them a month, the setup fee is lower. So it really just depends. So you can get geo leads. Okay, here's one thing that you do never want to spend your money on, and I will tell you, these people are not fun to work with. Okay. For sale by owner. If you guys think that you can just go onto Zillow and go get leads, I'm telling you right now, with the for sale by owner, just stay away from it. Number one is because they hate real estate agents. And I'm a real estate agent, but I don't really care if they hate real estate agents. It's not that. They just don't want anybody to get paid out of the transaction. They want the highest number possible, even though their fixer upper is completely falling apart. They don't really care. They want a retail price for something that's not worth it. Okay. So these for sale by owner people are hell to work with. I would suggest stay away. For rent by owner, investors would give lists, but the few agents who would take advantage of this lead type. I personally don't. I'm not a big fan of for rent by owner either. The other one is pre-foreclosure. Now, with the pre-foreclosures right now, there's not a whole lot of them. And the ones that are where there is a lot of them, they get contacts crazy because there's so many investors contacting pre-foreclosures right now because there's not a lot of them. So for me, for the pre-foreclosures, I would just say, like, when I pulled Harris County, which is Houston, I pulled it just in the inner circle alone. In the inner loop is what they call it. If you guys have been to Houston, you know that that's the 610 inner loop. I will say they have quite they have quite the sayings here. When I first got here, I'm like, my cleaner had to explain to me what this inner loop business was because I did not know what it was. I have no idea. So the inner loop is 610, and I'll show you guys on a map if you want to. But so I pulled pre-foreclosures in the inner loop, and in the inner loop there was only 150 pre-foreclosures. When I first got started in 2015, I would say that there was probably like there was a lot more than 150 that was in Sacramento, California, and Sacramento is way smaller than Houston. So I would say there was like triple the amount back in the day. I always feel like I age myself when I say when I started in 2015. Always feel like I'm like aging backwards. I'm still 25, guys, when I first started. That is a fact. Okay. So, pre-foreclosures. It's definitely people who are highly motivated. But I would say I've seen a lot of people who either agents or wholesalers, and they don't necessarily have a buyer or they don't have anything lined up, and that clock is ticking. And if you don't catch it in time, that's somebody losing their house at the auction. So you really want, if you're going to take on a pre-foreclosure, you really need to make sure that you have the money to catch them up, or you have an investor with private money to catch them up, or you figure it out somehow. Because if you don't and that person loses it to the auction, I really just think it gives you a bad reputation in this business. And your reputation in real estate, I will tell you, is a very important one, because we all talk. And I know it seems like there's so many people that are doing real estate. It's still a small community. We all talk to each other still. Like, I get calls about people, things happening and stuff happening. So it's still a small community, even though we're big. 21 templates to engage your database. All right, so I want to go through something that happened the other day. Yesterday? My days are getting confused. Sorry. Okay, so before we do that, I want to go through that a lot of people don't know this, that you can actually, as a real estate investor, if you go to, in this case, it's Old Republic. I got this when I first got started. I've had this particular portal from a title company for the last 7 years. I've had this. So why would a title company give me a portal? Because they want you to use them when you close a transaction. So I have used Old Republic quite a bit in the past, because they used to do my subject to properties, and they knew, and I had a lady who knew how to do them in California. So why did they give me a portal? Because that way I have access to, sorry, that logged me out, but I basically have access to the tax records. And I kind of want to show you guys, because I think it's interesting. Here, let me try to pull it up again. So, okay, so I'm going to show you guys a property and kind of walk you through the tax records. Anybody can get this, by the way. Like, I'm not special. I just went and messaged a title company like, hey, do you guys offer portals to investors? Now, they don't just give it to anybody. You will have to say, hey, I do, I am an investor. I'm looking to get started, but I need a service that will help me get started. And I don't have MLS access because I'm not a real estate agent. And to be honest with you, I use this more than I use MLS, because I think the comps on here are way, what is it called? Like, they're more, they're better. Oh, that was a weird way to say better, but they're basically, to me, they're on point more so than the other ones. So, okay, so this is the subject property, and I'm giving you an address today. Look at me. I'm giving you a full address. Full address. Take it for what it is. All right. So for some reason, I'm having a really hard time. My eyes are going bad or something because I was having a really hard time seeing that. Okay, so this is the address. It's a single family house. What are we looking for when it comes to comps? This is the reason why I like the title company comps, is because they really nail it to the T when it comes to comps. And I don't have to go searching for it's on this street and this street. They really do a very good job with the comps. They give you clean comps. So there's one similar, they just sold. See, literally just sold today. Isn't that crazy? All up to date. 4-bedroom, 4-bath, living area. So it's not quite the same, right? Because when you do comps, and this is a very short version of comps. I'm going to do a whole segment on comps because this is a very short version of what it is. When you're doing comps, meaning you comparing properties with like properties, you need to make sure they're a single family house. You need to make sure that it's a multifamily. It needs to be apples and apples. It can't be apples and oranges. You want to make sure that you are comparing the same type of property. If this property has a swimming pool, then you need to, and this property doesn't, then you need to find a property that has a swimming pool that's close to your subject property. All right. So this one, it just sold for 1.43 today, which that seems actually still pretty high for the market. But you will look at in 2022, they had probably a very similar, a little bit more square footage, 300 square feet more, sold for 1.758. So, what am I? So he wanted 1.35, I think, but to me, that's not really an investment property. If I got to put like close to $250, $300 down, that doesn't make any sense for me. Especially if I'm not cash flowing that much. There's a lot of cash to tie up unless we do a creative financing type of strategy, which I want to go over one creative financing strategy today, which is probably going to blow your guys' mind because when I found out about it, I might do two, but I think I'm just going to do one. If you guys have questions, you can definitely type them in. Please don't let me talk this whole time if you guys have questions. If I'm going really fast, you can slow me down as well. Please, by all means, ask me anything. All right. So this is the reason why I like, this is free. Free, you can go to a title company. I just know Old Republic does it. There's a couple other ones that do it. And the reason why they give you these portals is because they want to use you as their title company. Now, you can go to a title company and pull a list. If you are good friends with your title officer, they will pull a list. So it's really important that you find a title company that might do that. I'm actually thinking about this now because I'm going to a title company event on Thursday. And I actually might think that I might have them pull a list for me. See? I want as many lists as I can get. All right. Going to events. I got invited to an event for a title company because I personally would never go to an event if I wasn't really invited because I am awkward, like I told you guys at the very beginning. Okay, so I can see what's kind of going on with this property too. So one thing about Texas, if you are in Texas, maybe some of you guys who are watching are not in Texas, but in Texas, it's a non-disclosure state. What does that mean? That means if I go and sell my property for $400,000, I don't have to tell anybody that I sold it for $400,000. It's not recorded unless I say I want it recorded for everybody to see. Now, it will be obviously recorded as 400,000, but that doesn't mean it's public knowledge that it's recorded as 400,000. In California, however, if I go and record a property for 400,000, let's say, it is public knowledge that after it closes, that if I go onto Zillow, if I go onto Redfin, I know on 5/9/2023 that that property sold for 400,000. Okay. So in Texas, it's an option for the seller if the seller wants to disclose that what their property sold for. All right. Okay. So I can see the first mortgage. I can see a second mortgage. I can see if they are in default based off of this information. I can see if they are, if they have any Liz pendants. What is Liz pendants? Liz pendants is that they have some type of judgment on their, like they went to court and somebody filed a Liz pendants, meaning they either tried to stop the foreclosure or somebody's trying to sue them. In order for the Liz pendants to get removed, they have to get a court order for it to get removed. And it clouds the title, which means that you don't have clear title unless it is removed. So in this case, he does not have a Liz pendants. So I can see his name is Guy, right? We figured out his name is Guy. So he bought the property, Guy, in 2013. I just said guys. In 2013, he purchased this property for $482,000. So that gives me an idea of exactly how much he bought it for and where, if he's being realistic with his number. I can look him up and see, like, okay, is he being really realistic with this? No, he's not. He wants $1.35 million. But I will say in Houston Heights, that's actually not a bad price. But he bought it at a really good time, right? He bought it in 2013 when the market was down and people were still kind of scrambling. He bought it at a good time, and then he did a mortgage modification agreement. So he basically took his 30-year mortgage and he knocked it down to a 15-year mortgage, is what we see here. So when he knocked it down to a 15-year mortgage, he got a fixed rate loan. So maybe this was a variable interest rate. And he got a fixed rate loan for a certain amount. And we can actually look up in 2021. We all know that the interest rates were really good in 2021. So he got a fixed rate at a great interest rate at 15-year loan. He's probably paying like $2,000, if that, like $1,750 to live in Houston Heights in a good area. I mean, like, he hasn't made, like, he put a $1.35 million price tag on it. Why? Because he doesn't need to sell it. Nothing. He's pushing me to close it because he doesn't need to sell it right now. If I had a property for if I had a property that was worth 1.35 million and I owe $363,000, there's no reason for me to sell it, right? So this is not a motivated buyer to me, right? He has no motivation to sell it. He threw out a number. If that number stuck, then hey, he got a good deal out of it. But there's no reason for me to buy this as an investor because it doesn't make sense number-wise. Even if I did create a financing on this, it doesn't make any sense because that's not really my buy box. My buy box is multifamily real estate. Even if I were to go try to flip this to an investor, it's not an investor purchase. It's somewhere, if I were to live there and wanted to live there for myself, that's the only reason why I would buy this property. I would never buy this as an investment property. It's not worth it. So that's why he's not motivated. Here's my thing. Why did it go from $1.7 million, how he got it, which was 482,000. So it's either he put a lot of money up front or they foreclosed on it. But usually they typically say if it foreclosed back in the day. So it doesn't look like it foreclosed. Maybe he just put a lot of money down. I don't really know. That's where you kind of ask questions when you're on the phone with them, like, hey, how'd you buy the property? How much money do you have in the property? Like, you have to get into people's finances as much. Maybe you're uncomfortable of getting into people's finances, but if you just do it so many times and you know the questions to ask, it's kind of becomes more comfortable. I wouldn't say it never gets not comfortable. It's just you get better at negotiating and asking the right questions that you need to ask in order for you to get the answers that you are looking for. So that's kind of like, for me, looking at this. So we went from, hey, I'm interested in, sorry, that's my niece. I'm not allowed to show her on, I'm not allowed to show her anywhere. I'm going to get in trouble. So I went from texting this person today. He's like, hey, I would take X amount. If he was a little closer to my number, I would be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Or if it's a multifamily and it's cash flowing, I would pursue it. This to me is a dead lead, because what's the point of continuing to go after a lead that doesn't make any sense? I mean, I'm not really looking for a single family. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to look for multifamily real estate in order to either sell it to another investor or for me to buy it myself. So this to me is there's no wiggle room here. So I also want to go through another property that I'm in negotiations with right now. And I never know if these things are actually going to happen. I never know if stuff is going to actually pop off. I just know what my number is. And if I know what my number is and what I'm willing to do, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But sometimes I like to structure it where we all try to win. So I like creative financing. I've been doing creative financing since the beginning of time, because when you come into this industry and you don't have a whole lot of money, you got to get creative. And luckily, my creativity pays off sometimes. I've purchased a lot of properties subject to the existing mortgage. I don't assume the mortgage, but I take over the payments of it. All right. And it goes through the title. It transfers the deed, which is the title of it, not the deed of trust, the deed. And when I transfer the deed, I own the property and I make the payments to the mortgage company, but the seller stays on the deed of trust, which is the mortgage. Don't you love when they just like try to confuse you like crazy? They're like, oh, let me do a deed, which could be like a warranty deed, any type of deed, warranty deed, quick claim deed, all the deeds. And then like, oh, and then we're going to actually call a mortgage when we put it in first position. We're going to call it a deed of trust, semantics. So this is the last thing that I kind of want to go through. The only reason why I want to go is because I love talking about creative financing. I think more people should use it. It's a great tax advantage. I was talking to somebody today, a real estate agent called me today, and she says, hey, I know nothing about 1031 exchanges. I saw that you posted on your Instagram that you do 1031 exchanges. And I have this investor who wants to sell her condo, and she is going to make money from it, but she doesn't know how to do the exchange. And so that's kind of, I'm thinking that's going to be really my niche in this market is 1031 exchanges, because I'm doing another class on it on the 17th. I'm really excited about. All right. So, all right. So that was one instance. That's not what I was going to talk about, actually. I'm going to talk about something else. Let's see. Okay, so this is just Google Docs. Oh wait, sorry, I got to pull it up. Okay. So I had someone, a wholesaler, come to me yesterday, and he was like, "Hey, I have a 10 unit." I'm like, "Okay." He wants $675,000 for a 10 unit. I'm like, "Okay, what's wrong with it?" First of all, that's my first thought, right? Like, what is going on with a 10 unit, and why is it only $675,000? It obviously needs work, right? I'm gonna try to make this bigger for you guys. And they've been shopping it around for a while. I can tell. I can just tell, like, by the way, because if this was in any market and someone said 10 unit for $675,000, like, anybody would jump on that right away. I will say it is in kind of a flood zone in Houston, so that's the only thing that makes me kind of like, He said it's never been flooded, but I don't trust anybody in real estate. People in real estate say a lot of things. I do my due diligence and make sure that it never was flooded and check the flood zones. You can just Google flood zone, Harris County, and I would find all the flood zones if it flooded or not. That's number one. So that's my first thought is like, okay, the flood zone kind of makes me uneasy about it. Then I was like, okay, I don't have necessarily, if I were to do this, I would have to get a mortgage and I would put 20% down. Because of the 10 unit, the lender is going to require a 20% down payment for the commercial property. Commercial is always like, you could get away with like 10% for commercial depending on the deal, but typically it's 20%. So let's just say 675 times 20% is $135,000. I don't know about you, but I don't want to put my own capital of 135,000 into a 10 unit. Now the 10 unit every month, once it's fixed up, because I'm still going to have to fix it up, I'm going to have to put 5,000 to 10,000 per, I would say 5,000 per unit. So 5,000 rehab. And a lot of the time commercial lenders don't give you the rehab budget. That's definitely not a thing for commercial. Some of them do, some of them might, but you would really have to ask around. It's a certain type of lending product where they do rehab loans. I'm actually talking to a lender right now to kind of see what my options are. Okay, so 5,000 per unit. So we have 10 units. So that's $50,000. So I got to come out. And if you guys know anything about contractors are never on time and they're never on budget. So that's probably closer to $75,000 budget. Let's just put 50,000 for now. So now I got to come up with 135,000 plus 50,000. That's $185,000. If I put everything $185,000, a lot of the time you get stuck with one deal, right? You make good money and you cash flow, but you can't move on to the next deal because a lot of the time your cash is stuck in one spot. So what do you do in this scenario? Well, I asked the wholesaler who's been doing this for a while. I would consider him of a groundhog because he's been doing it for so long. Groundhogs are like pretty well seasoned wholesalers where the numbers actually work, because if you know anything about wholesalers, they don't really, the numbers usually don't work very well. They miss a couple items. So I said, hey, go ask him if he would sell or finance it. He's like, yeah, he would sell or finance it. And I got to see. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find that. I think he said 25% down and he would sell or finance the rest. Well, that doesn't really take care of my problem, does it? Because I still got to come up with, now I got to come up with more money. Now, he would say he would do a 5% interest rate, which is good. Because I don't know if you guys have seen the latest news, but interest rates are at an all-time high. So he said, hey, but you have to come up with 25% down. I was like, okay, what if we flip-flopped it? What if we go, hey, I'll bring in the 70% and be in first position, which would be a loan on the property, and I can go get a loan from the bank for 70%. That's normal. Okay, commercial. But however, what if he owner carries, that's what they call it, carries 30%. So now he has to carry $202,000. And I will finance 422. Now, my interest rate is going to be still kind of through the roof, but do I care at that point? Not really. Because let's just say it's at an 8% interest rate. So I get the handy dandy mortgage calculator because they amortize everything nowadays. So I think that's like a $3,000 payment on it. I just go to a regular mortgage calculator. This is what I do. Okay, I include the taxes and interest because here in Texas we have high property taxes and I'm not really used to that. It's almost like a 2% or something crazy. So I do, oops. I'm not going to put a down payment. Well, I guess I could put 7. I could do it this way. 6.25. 30%. 30-year fix. Let's put it higher because it's an investment property. Let's just say 8.5 for giggles. Texas, property tax. I don't have to pay a PMI, private placement. We're not going to get into that. But okay, so my payment on it is $4,533,000. So $4,533,000. I want to see what it is for a 7.5%. It didn't change that much. Like $300. Okay. But then I have obviously about 20% on top of that for vacancy, any type of maintenance, cost, all that good stuff. So let's just say plus 20%. But I got to figure out the gross rent. So when everything is fixed up, I already did the math because I did it with my lender today. 14,500. I know that the gross, this is what the rents are going to gross every single month. Once I get Section 8 tenants in there, and I know that it's because it's a 2-bedroom, I know that I can get a certain amount, and that's what it was. Gross 14,500 minus the mortgage payment times that by 20 is, this is not technically the NOI because the NOI typically does not have the mortgage payment in it. Minus 45. So 10,000 It's 14,000 plus 45. So I'm going to cash flow $7,100. $7,100 times that by 12. 85,000. Now, if I take out the mortgage payment, 5,000. So I'm at 11,600. That's a little high, to be honest. Times that by 12. I'm going to, my NOI is what they call it. Net operating income would be one, because they go based off of, and commercial is very different than single family. They go based off of your NOI. So if I divide that by my cap rate, which, okay, so at the end of the day, say I do a 10% cap rate on it, I'm looking at $1.3 million. We're actually looking at 1.32992, dyslexic. So that means if I purchase this property for $675,000, he carries $200,000. Okay, so I don't have to pay a real estate agent. I don't have to pay. I have to pay closing costs. I will have to pay that. I don't have to pay the two sides of the agents. So I will have to pay about 2% in closing costs the first time around. So if I ever go sell this building, so almost 1.4 million minus 675, plus I put about, let's say 75,000 in improvements plus closing costs on two sides. So let's do 4%. These are rough numbers. Okay, don't hold me. These are like super rough numbers. Okay, so the first transaction when it closed, it was 13,000 for closing costs. The second transaction when it closes would be 27,000. Jesus, 27,000 for closing costs. Okay. Equals, gonna add it all up and then subtract. I'm telling you guys, if you can add and subtract, you don't even have to add and subtract. You can use your calculator. That's a great thing about real estate. You don't even have to be completely smart. You just have to know what to do. 65 plus 75,000 plus 27 plus 3,000. Okay. So it's close to 8,000. 800,000. My apologies. It's 791.3. Okay. So then I take that number. So I take this minus this equals minus 791.3. Jeez. You know, sometimes I need to learn how to use my calculator. Minus 334. Whatever. 600,000. However, net. If I hold this for 1 year, 1 day, and I show rental income, I will not have to pay capital gains on it. If I don't show rental income, and if I don't hold it for 1 year, 1 day, I will have to pay 25% in capital gains because it's an investment property. But that's where the 1031 exchange comes in. That's a whole different thing for a whole different day. So, however, if I wanted to keep the property, I could take 70% of 1.4, because a lender typically will lend on 70% LTV, because I fixed up the property and made it nice and the I up the rent on the tenants. I can now divided by. So I can get a loan on this property for $980,000. So if we get rid of that, so this is my refinance. So how much money can I pull out of this? And I can keep it. I don't have to sell it. So minus, I can refinance this guy out. I can refinance the owner out of his $200,000 down payment, right? So 675, right? What I paid for it plus the closing costs, which was 13,500. So how much is that? $688 plus I forgot to do the rehab money. Equals 763,500. So now I just pulled out 900,000 minus 763, $217,000. And how much money did I have in this deal? Zero. I didn't have anything in this deal. Nothing. That's why when people always tell me, oh, you need a lot of money to get started in real estate, I literally just created something out of thin air. I created a deal out of thin air. It's all out of thin air. And what did it take? It was just knowledge that I had, right? Going through this whole process. Now, I think I went through this really fast, but hopefully you get the understanding of that I basically took a deal that they've been trying to move for a very long time, and I created a structure of where there's some type of creative financing on it because the owner wanted such a big down payment. And if I go out and get private money, that private money is going to cost me money. So if I bring in the 70%, the owner carries the 30%, which I'm talking to a lender right now about it. And then if I pay X amount, but this whole time though, I'm still cash flowing on the property every single month. It's still getting paid. I don't have to be out money because I'm in the process of rehabbing it. That's not happening. The second thing is that I can pull out once 6 months. I always thought that refinancing, you had to wait 6 months, which it's true. If you use hard money, you don't have to wait 6 months. If you use a bank financing, typically you have to wait 6 months. If you use like FHA financing and VA, you have to wait 6 months. There's rules. I'm not a good rule person when it comes to that kind of stuff, but that's why I like creative financing, because if he carries it, like there's a lot of different ways. Like even if he carried like 100% of it, I don't have to go through a bank. I don't have to go through any of that. All right. So a lot, and commercial is really not based off of your like credit score or anything. It's based off of the actual income that it is producing. So it has really nothing to do with you when it gets to commercial properties. All right. So let's see. So yeah, I can refinance it for this price because it will appraise for this amount based off of when it hits commercial. It's based off of the NOI, which is the net operating income that does not include the mortgage. So the net operating income, and I say at a 10 cap, I went high too. 10 cap is high only because the rates are so high right now. I mean, if this was like 2020 or 2021, I probably could do this at like a 6 or 7 and get way more and pull more money out of it. But because the rates are so high, you'd have to do it for a higher rate. So say I pulled it out as a 10%. I mean, a 10 cap, I'm sorry. I get 980,000 and I net $217,000. And guess what? When I refinance it, that's tax-free money for me. I don't have to pay taxes on that. Now, if I sold the property before 1 year, 1 day, I have to pay 25% capital gains tax on it. All right. So we're a little bit over time, but hopefully I kind of went off on a tangent, a couple tangents today. Hopefully it was helpful. But we can kind of recap. I went through, I have a couple leads that are in the works right now that I'm working out deals. I am digging deep. I myself am doing some cold calling. I have somebody else that is cold calling for me as well that has a couple leads that I do need to call tomorrow. I am going through comps. I'm pretty much like in the thick of it. I'm back in it. Like I never left. I haven't been really doing this for a very long time. Like I've been doing real estate for a very long time, but I haven't been in the thick of it in a very long time. So went through the numbers. We went through how you can go out and find a title company that will give you lead. I mean, they could give you leads, and they can give you not just leads, but they can give you a whole portal. If you don't have MLS access, if you're not an agent, you can get a whole portal on actual, and they can give you comps. They can give you tax records. They can see, basically you can see how much they have on a first position, how much they put down. If it's an FHA loan, what type of loan it is. There's so many different things you can do. So I can tell from just talking to people if their price is too high or if we can work out some type of creative financing deal on it. I need to do my own due diligence before I go and try to negotiate something. Because if I go negotiate something, I have no idea if he's telling me the truth or not, because I would say 99.9% of the time that sellers do not tell you the truth, okay? So we went through a portal, we went through a property that I am looking at for a 10 unit. To be honest with you, I don't even know the address on it. I just know that that's another thing. A lot of people are like, oh, I need an address. I'm like, if the numbers don't work, I don't want to continue the negotiation process. I need a motivated seller, number one, and I need the numbers to make sense for me to even go try to go look at the property. Or do I even need to go look at the property if the numbers work? Yeah, kind of. But if the numbers work and I get an inspection on it, why do I need to go see it? Okay. A lot of people are like, well, I need to go see it for X amount. And yes, you should definitely go see it if you're brand new, starting out in this business. If you've been doing this for a long time, you don't necessarily need to go see based off of what it is. Now, do I want to go see this 10 unit? Yes, because I think it's a lot in worse condition than I think it is. So yeah. So we went through numbers. If the numbers don't work, what's the point of me going to see the property? If the guy isn't motivated to sell, like what's the point of even doing it? You got to keep moving on to the next. I think so many people get stuck on like one person and they got to make this deal work. And it's like, you got to go generate more leads. It's a numbers game at the end of the day. I got told no today, probably about like 20 times. Am I mad about it? No, I can't take it personal. They don't know me personally, so how can I take it personal? I went business to business selling makeup out of the trunk of my car for a very long time, and it was a sales position. And I think a lot of people, they take it personal and they get like, oh, they think they're mad at me, but it's really not. They're not mad at you. They just don't want to sell their property, and they have every right to do that. So you just move on to the next person. If the person, I had a 7 unit that came in and the guy wasn't willing to do any type of creative financing, I was like, and it was in a really big flood zone, and I was like, I don't want it. It was a great number, sure, but if the numbers don't work and it's in a flood zone and there's a lot of different factors to it, why would I go look at the property? I negotiate a deal before I go out and even try to go see it. What's the point? There's no point. So anywho, I do this every Mondays and Tuesdays. I will be doing a challenge It will be announcing on Thursday that I'm doing finding the groundhogs. And what does groundhog mean? Finding the groundhogs means that we are finding the motivated sellers. It's on Eventbrite. I have it live right now, but I haven't really announced it, but it will be a 3-day event essentially that we will be going through live streaming on YouTube 3 days, 3 hours a day, and we will be going through stuff like this. People can bring their deals. They don't have to say the numbers on it. They don't have to do, I mean, they have not the numbers, but they don't have to say the addresses on it or the people. They can just tell me what the numbers are and to see if it's a good deal. I would love to have people come in with some deals already going so we can analyze them together and maybe even jump on the phone with a couple sellers. I don't know. If you guys want to call people, I'm open to calling people. Talk to a lot of people. How No, I am tech savvy to a certain extent, but so finding the groundhog. See the little groundhog? I put the little groundhog here. A beginner's guide to finding your first real estate deal. So we will be here. It is free. Um, you can sign up for every single day. It's May 23rd, 24th, 25th. So this is the information. I will link it on my Facebook and my Instagram and YouTube. So you guys can definitely find it. But I will be back here on Monday and Tuesdays. So I hope you guys can reach out to me on Instagram. My handle is Claire Ann Investor. I do check my DMs on a regular basis. You can message me on Facebook if you want to. So Facebook, Instagram is Claire Ann Investor. You guys, however you want to get a hold of me. If you guys want to spend an hour or two on the phone calling leads, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm more than happy to analyze properties with you guys. You guys let me know what you want and I will make myself available. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your night and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.